Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to another EstimateRocket success webinar. Today, we're lucky enough to have with us Bill Silverman as a guest host. Bill is the owner of Springboard Business Coaching, and Bill specializes in owners of seven-figure contracting companies who've grown their businesses by trying to do everything and make every decision now that I do everything management style is no longer working. By trying to manage everything, they become a bottleneck in their businesses that's holding their businesses back. Bill's taken what he's learned about running large companies from his 25 years in senior management positions, companies like Marriott and Cigna, and uses it to help his clients run their businesses CEO of a major corporation. The result is a growing, profitable business that can thrive without them. So with that, I welcome Bill and turn it over to you, Bill, and thank you.
Thanks, Tom. And hi, everyone. I want to take a minute to welcome you all to Corporate CEO's Success Keys for Leading a Growing, Profitable, Seven-Figure Contracting Business that Runs Itself. You know, that's a mouthful, but it really describes well what we're going to talk about today. And I just want to start by talking about, the world as it is and the way it could be. For most of the contractors that I talk to, having $1 million or larger or seven-figure contracting business is the dream. Having a business like that means that you have the money, time, and freedom to do what you want and when you want to do it. It means having a consistent flow of business and profit, and a business where your sales and profits grow year after year. And it also means having a smooth running business that you're proud of, that can run well whether you're there or whether you're not there. So you can come in excited at the beginning of every day, happy to come to work. And all of this gives you more time to spend with your family or doing the things that you love to do, or maybe just dialing it back in your business. That's the dream. Does that sound about right to everybody? But for most owners of seven-figure contracting businesses, and maybe you're one of them, that's not how it is. Along with the growth comes more headaches and problems, more stress and frustration, and maybe even slower growth and lower profits. And all of this puts enormous pressure on you because most of the people on your team won't take ownership for their work. And so they're constantly looking to you to solve their problems. And so you end up being responsible for everything. And all of that's got you working harder and longer than you really want to. So you have less time to spend with your family or doing the things you really want to do. So if you feel that way, you're not alone. There are a lot of contractors that I work with feel the same way. And when I go to presentations that are live where I can actually see you and I ask people to raise their hand about who feels the same way, most of the people in the room feel that way too. So you're not alone. But it's not your fault. It's not like you're doing something wrong. The unfortunate thing about contracting businesses is they don't come with an owner's handbook, really, to guide you as your business grows and warn you about problems like this. But I want to assure you that you can turn this situation around and create the smooth running, profitable, growing business that you've always wanted. So we're going to do two things today. The first thing we're going to do is answer the question, why is the reality of running a seven-figure business so much different from the dream? In this first part, what I'm going to do is show you how your current approach to managing your business may actually be keeping your business small and adding stress and frustration and hours to your workday. And the reason I want to go over this is because I think if you see it, you'll see it clearly in your day-to-day work, and it'll make it easier for you to solve that. So why is this problem happening? Then we're going to talk about what you can do to fix it. I'm going to share 3 success keys for how corporate CEOs run huge companies and how you can use these corporate CEO success keys to manage your business today or when it's 10 times the size while multiplying your impact and control at work. and also your enjoyment for that matter. And these success keys are the keys that I work on with my coaching clients. They're part of my coaching system. And it's been successful in helping them add hundreds of thousands of dollars to their bottom line while reducing their stress and hours that they spend at work each day. So that's what we're going to talk about today. So I want to get going. One thing, we'll hold the questions till the end, so there'll be some Q&A time at the end if anybody has any questions. So with that, I want to get started. And, lots of people I talk to have this belief that the bigger your business gets, the more headaches, problems, time at work, less time for your family, more stress, more frustration. There's this belief that just comes with the territory. That if I want to have a growing, profitable business, I have to be willing to suffer a little bit. But in this first section, I just want to tell you that that's not true. And in this first section, I want to show you what causes these problems so that we can then move on and talk about what you can do about them. So I want to start off by just saying, when you're a startup or a very small company, your success actually depends on your ability to do everything. Now, I don't know how many of you know MacGyver and have seen the MacGyver TV show, the old one or the new one, but both. It was one of my favorites. But if you haven't seen it, or you need a little jogging of your memory, MacGyver was this genius secret agent for some international agency that was devoted to righting the wrongs of the world. And he always got in these sticky situations by the end of the show, where in order to beat the enemy, he had to use his vast scientific knowledge, and oftentimes nothing more than a paper clip or a little bit of duct tape that he just happened to have in his pocket to get out of a locked room and break away or stop a bomb from blowing up. That was the MacGyver show. And to me, MacGyver represents the essence of what makes a new business owner, like you once were, successful. He's creative, he's resourceful, he's daring, he's tireless. He did everything, solved every problem. This is you. Have the stamina to fight the good fight every day and the confidence to believe that no one can do it as well as you. You were the go-to person for everything. And if MacGyver had a motto, this is what I think it would be. If it's to be, it's up to me. And I think that's the new business owner's motto. And in fact, businesses don't get off the ground unless you're a multi-talented, highly motivated, hardworking, achievement-oriented person. Sorry, my phone. And that's what it takes to get the business off the ground. But as your business grows from you being a solo to maybe having 50 or 100 people or more, the things in your business get much more complex. You have many more customers, you have more employees, possibly offering more services than you had when you were smaller. And all of this complexity and competing priorities with customer employee needs and all the moving parts makes it hard for you to manage your business trying to do it all on your own. But most owners don't adjust to the new challenges and complexity of leading a larger business. They're still trying to manage their business like MacGyver, doing everything, managing everything, making every decision, solving every problem, and being the go-to person for everything. And ultimately what happens is you've got so many plates to spin between doing marketing and selling and managing operations and doing the accounting and customer service and running supplies out to your crews that eventually plates start to fall and break. And what I mean by that is your marketing gets inconsistent because you're maybe too busy to market all the time. You don't have the bandwidth to follow up on all your leads. The the performance of your team suffers and balls start to drop in the field and there are more fires and go backs and customer complaints. So customers start to leave, your business growth slows and your profit goes down. And before you know it, you're working really long hours, trying to keep things together, and you still can't get everything done. And your stress and frustration level starts to rise, and you feel like things are spinning out of control. It sounds terrible, doesn't it? I mean, I get exhausted just talking about this. But the bottom line is that you become the bottleneck in your own business because everything has to go through you. You're holding your business back, and it's killing you and it's killing your business. Now, what usually happens in this situation is that our natural tendency is when we hit a rough spot is just to do the same things, only work harder. Come in earlier, stay later, hunker down and power through, do whatever it takes to make it happen. Because remember, you're MacGyver. I've seen owners grow businesses $3 million or more just by putting their nose to the grindstone more. And it's not a pretty sight, and they're not happy and don't have much of a life, but they were able to grow their business to that point. But I don't know if you've ever heard the saying, what got you here won't get you there. But this is the classic case of that. The MacGyver management style that you've been using up to this point is no longer working. And that's the cause of your limiting, your stunted growth and your limited profit and the extra hours you're working. That's the root cause. But, this is not your fault because businesses change so gradually that it's hard to see in the day-to-day that the skills that have made you successful up to this point, are no longer working and are in fact holding your business back and making you miserable in the process. It's like that classic frog in the pot of boiling water. You turn the temperature up so gradually that the frog never realizes that the water's starting to boil, and that's what happens. But to build a consistently growing, profitable, multi-million-dollar business that runs itself, you have to stop running it like MacGyver and start thinking and acting and managing your company more like a CEO of a major corporation would. So what I want to do now is I want to go through 3 CEO success keys that you can use, and you can start to implement these things right away to manage your business and turn your business into that growing, profitable, smooth running business that you always wanted it to be. All right, so everybody with me? Terrific. So the first key here is to run your business through key managers. Now, it's seductive to think that if you have 15, 30, or 45 people that you can still do everything and manage everything yourself. But you can't. You just can't. And corporate CEOs of major corporations know that they can't do everything, so they don't even try. It's seductive to think you can manage 45 people and do everything. You can't manage 500 or 1,000. I worked at Marriott Corporation, and Marriott had 200,000 employees. So Bill Marriott, who was the chairman at the time, knew he couldn't manage them all. He can't supervise every hotel and run every division. So, here's what the CEOs of major corporations do instead. They break their business down into parts. These are the classic parts: marketing, sales, operation, finance, HR, and in the contracting world, it's all that office stuff. So you break the business down into parts, and then you entrust key managers with full responsibility for running those parts of the business. You want them to actually take ownership of marketing or take ownership of sales or operations and run it as if it were their own little part of the business. And then the CEO then runs the business entirely through those key managers. Does that make sense to everybody? Good. So you can make the same strategy of letting managers run parts of your business work in your 7-figure contracting business. You know, if you add crews, this is what your organization chart might look like. And as you grow, you're not going to add a marketing, sales, operations, and office person all at once. But as you grow gradually over $1 million to about 5 million, you're going to add all these pieces of all these management people to your management team, so that by the time you get to be $3, $4, $5 million, you're running the business. That's you in the blue box, being the CEO of your business, letting other people manage the different parts. That's the key. If you don't take anything else away from this presentation besides that, that's the key. Now, you know, I've been speaking about this for a long time, and, you know, I get this question. People go, well, I already do this. You know, I already run my business through key people. And so I just want to address that, because you may think you are, but you may not be. What I want to do is I want to make a key distinction between letting your manager supervise parts of the business and actually letting them own their function. When I think about a manager who's supervising part of your business, I think about someone who's overseeing the work, but primarily does whatever you tell them to do. They're carrying out your orders, and they're leaning on you heavily to solve problems and make decisions. So they're not actually running the function and owning it, deciding what to do, solving problems, doing whatever it takes to make that function successful. They're just, you know, you're just using them as arms and legs to go out and chase down problems and fix things out in the field, for example, if it was an operations person. And if you're only letting your manager supervise, then you probably don't have a lot of trust that things are going to happen right if you don't micromanage them all the time. So you're still being MacGyver. You're just using other people to carry out your, you know, some of the things you want to get done. But still, everything has to go through you. And you're still acting as if you believe, if it's to be, it's up to me. That if I let go for just a second, there's going to be chaos. So I'm going to let these guys supervise, but I'm not going to let them actually make decisions and solve problems. So that's the difference. So by contrast, you know, a manager who owns his or her function is empowered, they're independent, and you trust them to make decisions and solve problems and get things done that need to be done in their function without you having to handhold them and babysit them. So this is my definition of what it means to have a manager own their function. So basically the buck stops with them. If they're the production manager, operations manager, and they're responsible for delivering work at a targeted gross profit, that they're responsible for it. They own that responsibility, not you. And so here's what my definition is that let's just say the operations manager is the one person responsible for achieving the operations goals and objectives. The operations manager is the owner and steward of operations and is responsible for planning for the operations department's success, implementing whatever needs to be done to make it successful. They're where the buck stops, no excuses. So that's a big difference between letting somebody be a supervisor where you're telling them everything, versus having somebody who owns the function, takes full responsibility for making it work, and that you have full trust in to make that happen. That's the difference. Imagine how great it would be to have a manager running operations that you had that much trust in, that if they said they were going to do something, it was actually going to get done. And many owners that I talk to don't even believe that it's possible to have people on their team that are like that. That it's possible to have independent, empowered managers that really take ownership. So, and we're going to talk about that. So for the second key, I want to talk about what it takes to get your managers to be independent and empowered. So the first key here is break your business down into parts and assign managers to those parts. The second key then is, how do you make those people independent, empowered, and willing to take full ownership and responsibility for their function? It's not impossible. So the second key that we want to talk about is how you're going to support your management team's success. You can't have a profitable business that virtually runs itself unless you're willing to let go and let others take responsibility for parts of your business. There's a Harvard Business Review article, and there was a quote in there that I really like, which I think sums up a lot. It says, the inability of many owners to let go of doing and begin delegating and managing explains the failure of many businesses. So that, part of the key to having independent, empowered managers is your willingness to let go. I look at it a lot like it's teaching a kid how to ride a bicycle. I don't know if you have kids or if you've ever tried to teach a kid how to ride a bike, but you start with training wheels and then you raise the training wheels so they can wobble a little bit. Then you take the training wheels off and you hold the seat and you run behind them. You remember this? And you let go a little bit and see if they wobble, and you grab the back of their seat and you let go a little bit longer, and you sometimes they wobble and fall, but eventually if you gradually let go and let them get used to balancing, they will actually ride off without you. And so there's two pieces to success in empowering managers to be independent and take ownership. One is you have to be willing to let go. But the other part is you have to teach them how to be a successful manager. And both of those things are necessary. I mean, when I taught my kid how to ride a bike, I wanted to knock him off the bike and ride it for him because I didn't want him to get hurt. But if I do that, he's never going to learn how to ride a bike. It was tough. And it's the same with your managers. If you do everything for them and treat them like supervisors, they're never going to learn how to take ownership for themselves. So I want to share a couple of areas that we focus on a lot to help managers own their function. So just like teaching a kid how to ride a bike, start with the training wheels on. Most managers, unless you hire them from the outside and they've managed someplace else, don't have a lot of experience owning and running their function. So you have to give them some assistance to help ensure their success and yours. If you just throw them into the deep end, they're not going to learn how to swim, and the results aren't going to be very positive. So I just wanted to share a few things that I work on with my clients that I think that you should do too as you're bringing new managers into your management positions. Some of these seem pretty simple, but to a new manager, they're not. So probably the first thing to do is help them understand what it means to be an owner and what it is that they're owning. So, when I say help them understand what it means to be an owner, it's probably one of the hardest things for managers to really understand. They're so used to going to you for everything that it's when you tell them that they have to own their function and make decisions, they really don't know what to do. So, we use that the buck stops here description that I laid out before to emphasize the expectation. It starts with an expectation of what you want them to do. So that's part of it. But not only do they need to know what it means to be an owner, but they have to be clear about what they own. So I've created this thing that I call job value propositions, which are like a job description, but a job description is just a hodgepodge, long laundry list of duties and responsibilities and skills and abilities and background. It's that every employee gets and usually throws away right away. And when I talk to most employees and I say, well, what is it you do every day that makes the owner want to pay you at the end of the week? They don't know how they add value to the company. So I created this version of a job description that I call a job value proposition. It's got 3 parts. The first part says, the purpose of my job is to help the company grow and make a profit by. And everybody's in the company says that. And then there's usually 3 or 4 bullet points at the beginning that describe what they do every day or week that helps the company grow and make a profit. So, an operations manager, purpose of my job is to help the company grow and make a profit by delivering work at a targeted gross profit. That's a piece. Ensuring that the quality of the service delivery and that the customers are happy. That's another piece. So you're really kind of defining at a high level what chunks of work each role owns. The second part of the job value proposition, we won't go into this in detail, is how they're supposed to do that. So if one of their key value ways they create value is to deliver work at a targeted gross profit, there's probably 10 bullet points that they have to do to make that happen that we define. And then the last section is, what are your success measures? So, the operations person's success measure would be gross profit. It might be quality of work, customer satisfaction. So that way they have a very clear roadmap to what they own, how they do it, and how they're going to be measured. And it also tells them what they're not supposed to do, because if it's not on their job value proposition, it's not part of their job. So a key is to really school them in what they own, what ownership means, and what is it specifically that they're expected to own. A second key piece is just, how does the company make money and how can they impact that? So we spend a lot of time teaching them the basics of the P&L, sales, what goes into the cost of sales and how they can impact that, what gross profit is, what the fixed expenses of the business are, and how managing cost of sales and fixed expenses creates net profit. Most of them have no clue about how that happens. And so we spend a lot of time teaching them what the P&L looks like and what levers they have that they can push and pull that can impact the parts of the business that they're going to impact. Makes it much less of a mystery. This is pretty obvious, but just teaching them how to be a manager. Most of them are so used to doing that the only way they think that they can manage is by doing. So if somebody has a problem, they go, get out of my way, I'll do it for you, instead of managing their department like you're trying to manage the company. So a lot of work on just, how do you manage? What does it mean to be a manager? What are the management skills? How do you delegate? How do you use your time? There's a whole host of things that they need to learn in order for you to gain trust that they're going to do the right thing, which will make you feel much more comfortable about letting go. And then the last piece, and this is the last piece I want to talk about, there are many other pieces, is just how how to solve their own problems instead of coming to you for answers. Since most of them are hooked on you solving their problems, they're almost helpless when it comes to solving their own. So it's important that you teach them how to identify a problem, analyze the root causes, develop alternative solutions, pick the best solution, how to implement and follow through until the problem is actually solved for good. So a key part of getting your managers to be independent and empowered is, the training wheels. And these are the training wheels. The second piece of this is then, rather than you do things for your managers, you need to direct and empower them. If you want them to own their function, you need to take an active role in guiding them, but not doing for them. You want to show them how to do things so they can do things for themselves, and then monitor and manage them and hold them accountable so that they can get the work done the way you want to. So I just wanted to go over two areas that we work on a lot when it comes to directing and empowering your managers. And the first one of those ways is to involve your key managers in developing your annual plan. Now, I could spend an hour or longer about how important planning is. So I hope most of you do an annual plan. If you don't, you should. If you're doing it by yourself, it's really great to get your key managers involved in the process. I really highly recommend it for two reasons. One is it sends a clear message to them that they're part of the team that's making this business successful, and that they're responsible for running, they're co-responsible for running the business, and that you care about their opinion. So it really shows that, that they've stepped over a line and they're one of the key people in the business that you want and trust their opinion. The other reason that it's great to involve them in planning is because it continues to reinforce and help them learn how the business works, how it makes money, and how they can impact that. And I guess there is a third reason why I think it's really important, is because if you build the plan with them, they understand why the plan is what it is, and they take ownership of it. They know what the goals are. They agree with those goals because they helped create them, and they're much more able to go out and carry out the plan for the year. So involve them in developing your annual plan is really important. And the second area that I want to focus on that's maybe even more important, because it'll help you gradually let go as you build more confidence in their abilities, is to have regular one-on-one meetings with each of your managers each week, if not more frequently, to monitor what they're up to mentor them, to help coach and manage their behavior, to help them with challenges and concerns. It's a great opportunity for you to spend some quality time with them each week, ensuring that they're doing the right things, making good decisions, and gives you the opportunity to spin them in the right direction if necessary. So what I want to do is I just want to drill down on this meeting a little bit more, because I think it's that important, and it's part of the key to your successfully being able to run your business through these managers. So I just want to show you what's typically discussed at a one-on-one managers meeting. So this isn't if you have 3 managers, this isn't a group meeting. This is quality one-on-one time with each manager. So discuss last week's results and this week's objectives. So if you have a marketing manager, you can talk about the number of leads they produced last week and the lead goals for this week. You can assess progress on those goals. Did they generate enough leads in the right parts of your business last week? If they didn't, what possible corrective actions are they taking to make sure that they generate the leads that you want? If you delegated any activities to them last week, this is where you follow up. So if you gave them some additional things that you wanted to get done, it's great to wait and follow up during these meetings. This is an opportunity for you to coach and mentor and develop them. It's a great opportunity for you to assess any problems they might have and understand how they're thinking about solving them. And then the meetings always end with next steps, commitments, and due dates. So it's a great way to really see what they've done, what they're planning to do, to move them in the right direction if you need to, and to follow up and coach. I can't emphasize enough how important these meetings are. And schedule every week, and no excuses having those meetings as opposed to skipping several weeks because people get busy. Now, as important as having these meetings are and what you cover in these meetings, it's also really important how you run them. These meetings are designed to help your team learn how to take ownership and personal responsibility for their function. So it's critical that they come to these meetings prepared to brief you on what's happening in their department. Let me just repeat that. They're supposed to come and give you the lowdown on what's happening in their department, not the other way around. They're not supposed to come to the meeting and have you tell them everything that's happened in their department over the last week and all the things that have gone wrong. Because then you're just being MacGyver again. And then you're going to tell them what to do and you're going to pat them on the butt and send them back in the game. That's not the way this works. It's their department. They need to come prepared. They need to, if it's the marketing manager, they need to say, this is how many leads I was supposed to get. This is what I got. This is why I did or didn't get what I need to do. This is what my goals are for this week. This is what I plan to do to make those goals. They need to brief you on their department versus the other way around. If you brief them on what's happening in the department and what you want them to do, you're stifling their growth. You're not letting go of the bike seat, and they're never going to learn how to take ownership. I hope that makes sense to everybody. And it's one of the biggest mistakes I see when owners have meetings like this. So these weekly meetings give you the opportunity to spin your managers in the right direction. But even more important than that, they build trust. If you want to build a business that runs itself, you have to trust your people enough to let it run effectively without you. And these weekly meetings are designed for you to build trust in your team so that you can gradually help them get more self-sufficient and then feel more comfortable letting go. So letting go isn't like a cold turkey thing. You don't teach your kid how to ride a bike by just saying get on and shove off. It's a gradual letting go process. And I don't know if you know this trust piggy bank idea, but every time somebody says what they're going to do and they do it, they put a deposit in the trust piggy bank. And every time they say they're going to do something and don't do it, there's a debit from the trust piggy bank. So the goal of these meetings is for them to build up such a bank account of trust that you feel comfortable letting go. So then you can go on vacation for a week or two and come back and the business is still standing and it's actually running better than you ever would imagine. So just like teaching a kid to ride a bike, these meetings give you a chance to hold tight at first, but as your team, managers rise to the occasion and start building up that trust piggy bank deposit balance, you can gradually let go. And I have clients. I have a peer group with 5 painting clients, and 4 of them do these meetings religiously, and one of them was avoiding it and resisting it. And he said to the other 4 people, "Is it really that important? Do I really have to do this? It's just such a pain in the butt." And they all looked at him and went, "You absolutely have to do it. It's that important." And that wasn't coming from me. That was coming from them. And it really can make a huge difference. So don't resist it. Embrace it. Okay, so I want to go on to the third key here. Now, if you gradually build your management team and you do your one-on-one meetings and you teach them how to take ownership of their function, eventually it makes your life way easier. I mean, I've had clients call me and say, "I'm bored." I have one client in particular that said, "I've got my people running their functions, so what do I do? What am I supposed to do? Sit around and, with my feet on the desk, reading the newspaper, smoking cigars?" He actually said that, and then I found this picture. I was so proud of myself. But it's a fair question. After you're no longer being the I do everything, MacGyver, if it's to be, it's up to me, manager, owner, what do you do with your time? So I just wanted to spend some couple minutes just talking about that. What do you do with your time? So, the bottom line or top line of it all is you need to focus your role on high value activities. There are things that need to get done in the business that are really important. They're not urgent. And usually you're so busy, you don't have time to get around to these things. It's work that only you can do that can make a major positive impact on the business. So I just want to share a few areas that I think are really important for you to focus your time on now that you have extra time. The first one is setting the game plan for the business. By that, I mean, what's your vision for this business? 5 years down the road, what business are you trying to create? What's your plan for creating it? Those kinds of things, just sort of mapping out the roadmap to the business that you're really trying to create. I say, of your CEO time, 15% of your time should be spent on that. Managing and supporting your team's success. We've talked about that. That's, having your one-on-ones, coaching and mentoring, doing the things to grow your team so that they can take responsibility and take that responsibility off of you. I think that's about 30% of the time you spend being a CEO. Taking responsibility for high value parts of the business. There are things that need to be done in the business, whether they're developing new services, opening a new location, buying a competitor, improving your operations, building high value relationships that are going to result in much higher sales. All the things that are kind of like working on the business, as they say, not in it. Things that only you can do that have a high return on investment for every hour you spend. About 35% of your CEO time devoted to that. And then develop yourself. Mastery. I have a coach, and he says different level, different devil. Every time you take a step up in your business, there are new things to master, new things to learn. So develop yourself, about 10% of your time. And then go home early. If you've got your business to the point where you can leave it without having to feel like things are going to fall apart around you when you come back the next day. Go home early. It's a great thing to do. 10% of your time. I don't know. A random allocation. So you run the business through your team. You really work with your managers to make sure that they're empowered and self-sufficient and taking ownership of their function. And then you're reallocating your time to high value activities. So what I want to do is, so you're not going to be in your CEO role 100% of the time right from the get-go. It's a gradual transition. So when you're small, maybe it's 90% doing the work and 10% being the CEO. When you get to be $1 million business, maybe you're 70% doing the work and 30% being CEO. By the time you're a $2.5 million business, maybe you're 40% doing some type of work. Maybe you're selling or overseeing operations and 60% being the CEO. So it's a gradual transition. And the more gradual you step back from doing things and empower your team, the better off and the more successful your business is going to be. And by stepping back and playing more of the CEO role, you're giving your team a chance to make decisions and flourish. Some of my clients that go away on a vacation, they find that that's the best time. When they come back, they find that their team has really stepped up because they had to. He wasn't around or she wasn't around anymore. So gradually stepping back, gradually allowing them to take over responsibility as you occupy more and more of your time doing the most valuable work in the business that only you can do. So I'm going to wrap it up in a minute, but I just wanted to show you how you can use this same strategy of letting key managers work in your business through a case study. So to illustrate this, this is Frank's painting. Frank, not his real name, has been a client of mine since 2011. When we met in 2011, he had a $2 million, about 40-person Frank's painting company. And when we started working together, Frank's business wasn't growing for the last couple of years. He had laid off a couple people. He was stressed out, and in fact, he lost about $64,000 the year we met. And like a lot of things that we've been talking about, Frank was MacGyver. He was definitely in the camp of if it's to be, it's up to me. And he, played several different roles in the business. Each of those yellow boxes is a role that Frank was playing himself. And that's not even to count, just playing gopher and running paint supplies out to crews that forgot them or equipment that they didn't have. So Frank played a lot, was wearing a lot of different hats. And almost everybody in the business reported to Frank. All the green boxes were people that reported to Frank in one way or another. So, he was definitely trying to manage it all, trying to do it all, make every decision. And everything had to go through Frank. And even those people that weren't reporting to Frank directly, he was managing anyway. So, he treated people like supervisors and went around them. So he had his hands in everything. And I just want to show you how Frank described his situation. This is a quote from a while ago. He said, "I ran our 40-person company like we had 7 people. I never took the time to really tell my team what to do and hold them accountable to do it. And I wondered why they did things that drove me crazy. I spent my time doing their work, and I wondered why I wasn't getting my things done. I wasn't doing things to help the company move forward. I was making them dependent on me." I hope you can relate to that, at least some of you. And the more he tried to be the go-to person for everything, and the more decisions he made and the more problems he solved tried to solve, the more he stifled his team's growth and the more dependent they became on him. So just want to show you what we did. So like we had talked about before in the 3 keys, he broke his business down into parts. He appointed a head of operations to manage the jobs that were happening in the field, make sure that they were profitable and the customers were satisfied. He had a head of specialty services to manage all of his other painting services, carpentry, wallpaper, faux finishes. They have a spray booth, so shop spray. He outsourced a marketing to an outside sort of marketing for hire person. He had an office manager, and Frank remained the head of sales. But so now instead of trying to manage 40 people and do everything, Frank manages a team of 5, and they manage the rest. And this is how the business looks today. So he's got a lot less people to manage. And this took some time. This wasn't an overnight thing, but it took time to get this in place and for Frank to settle in. But the results have been dramatic. In 2010, he had lost, I think I said $64,000. By 2011, after he implemented a lot of the stuff we've been talking about, his profit went up from negative 3.2% to 4.3%. So that's like a $99,000 jump in profit. And this is the gift that keeps on giving, because his business has continued to grow. His profit has continued to improve over time. There's kind of a pattern where it jumps, it stabilizes, it jumps, it stabilizes. But his profit in the last 2 years has been over $600,000. And Frank has less stress, more control, more time to do the things he needs to do, and spend more time with his family. In fact, a couple of years ago, I met his wife, and she said, "I don't know what you did." And I didn't do anything. It was Frank who did it. But he's a totally different person. Yeah, he's so much more relaxed at home. He spends more time with the kids, which made my heart go pity pat. But really, this is what's possible for you if you do the 3 CEO keys that we're talking about here. So I just want to wrap it up, and then we'll answer some questions. But let's face it, having a business is not running the way you want it to is not fun. When you have a business that comes with more headaches and fires and problems, some people say, well, why even bother? Maybe I'll just get small again. But what I hope you can see from this presentation is you don't have to get small. You can grow your business without the headaches, problems, and issues, make it profitable, make it steady growing, and actually do less work and enjoy the work you do more if you stop being MacGyver and start managing your business like a corporate CEO. So here are the keys. The keys are: run your business through key managers, support your management team success by showing them how to run their function and directing and empowering them, and then focusing your role on high value activities. If you do that and follow through, the impact can be dramatic, as you've seen in Frank's case. So what I want to do before I answer questions is, at this point, I hope you can see what the power of the CEO success keys can have on transforming your business. And what I'd like to do, I love to be able to continue to give you some support. So I want to show you one way that you can get some individualized support to help you implement some of this stuff and go deeper. And what I want to invite you to do is potentially, if you're interested, sign up for one of these business that runs itself strategy sessions. Now, what this strategy sessions are a 60 to 90 minute one-on-one phone coaching session with me that's designed to support you in transforming your business using the keys that we've talked about. In these sessions, usually what we do is talk about the vision for your business, identify the major problems and challenges that are stunning your growth and limiting your profit, and determine exactly what you need to do to transform your business so that it's growing and profitable and can thrive without your constant attention. That's the goal of these things. So that you walk away, with a clear plan of action about what you need to do to harness the full potential of your business and make it the one that you really want. So that's what I'm offering here. Let me tell you a couple of things. These are only available, and I don't know who's on the phone, but to you, if you're an owner, so you need to be an owner. Your business needs to be around $1.5 million or larger. And because, these take a significant amount of my time, these are best if you're committed to making big changes in the next year to create the business that you really want. And you're at a point in the life of your business where you're ready to dedicate your energy and time to doing that. So if this describes you, I'm not trying to scare you away, but if this describes you, let me tell you how you can get one of these strategy sessions. It's pretty easy, and I'm going to leave this up on the screen while we do Q&A, but you just have to email me. It's bill@springboardbizcoaching.com, and I will just spell that for you in case somebody's listening but not watching the slides online. So it's Bill, BILL, at Springboard, SPRINGBOARD, biz, BIZ, coaching.com. So you put that's my email address. Put breakthrough session or strategy session in the subject line. And then all I need to know is your name, phone number, what industry are you in? So are you in painting, landscaping, whatever, what the revenue in your business and how many people you have. And just ship that off to me and I will phone you up and we'll schedule a time. So those are
I'll just add in, if anybody needs that address, you can always get a hold of us at EstimateRocket, and I will be happy to refer you over to Bill as well.
So that's it. I always have a little bit more to say than I have time to say it. Sorry about that. But if you're interested, we do have time for questions. I'd be happy to answer them.
Yeah.
How do we do that?
While we're waiting I think we had a couple questions that you already answered. I'll throw in that I personally have worked with a business coach for many years, and what Bill is saying is 100% on the mark. And if you want to grow and you want to have a life, Bill can help.
Thanks, Tom. So do we have questions?
We've got Casey Favling has asked a couple questions, and I think they're all answered, but he's going to be emailing you and getting a hold of you.
Okay, cool. Anybody else? Going once. Either I did a really good job answering everybody's questions, or I wore you all out.
Well, I think I know personally it's a lot to take in, and but again, it's one of those things that it's a hard transition to make, and I'm gonna wager we have some folks that are probably on the cusp of where your threshold is set, but it's one of those things that you just have to keep exploring as a business owner, and there is help out there to make business run the way you describe. Just had another question. We are going to repost this webinar online within a couple days. So if you check on our YouTube channel, probably 3 or 4 days from now, this will be reposted, so you'll be able to watch it again.
And it's one of those situations where if you know that this is going to be a challenge, well, let's say you're 1.3 million and or 1.2, and you know that this is, you can see the writing on the wall. This is coming up in your life. It's better to get in front of it and fix it before the problems happen, rather than have the problems happen, end up with you being the bottleneck and then trying to fix it. So if you're 1.2 or 1.3, you can still sign up for one of these strategy sessions. It's always easier to prevent a problem, I think, than it is to solve it after it's already broken. So just a word to the wise.
Yeah, no question.
Okay, wonderful.
I've lived everything you talked about, Bill, and still am in some respects.
I know, it's the gift that keeps on giving, right? It's just
for sure.
But well, I appreciate Tom, you sponsoring this, and I appreciate everybody that's been on the call. I hope you got what you came for. And if you have any, if you have any questions that come up afterwards, you can always email me, and I'll see if I can answer them that way too.
Super, and I'll forward anything that comes in as well. And I'd like to thank Bill again. It was a great presentation, and as I mentioned, helpful for me, and I'm sure helpful for others that are listening. And also like to thank everyone for attending another EstimateRocket Success webinar, and look forward to the next one. Make sure and check into our YouTube channel. We've got lots of videos of webinars and other popular topics for EstimateRocket. So, and once again, thanks everybody for coming, and thank you, Bill, and hope everybody has a great afternoon.
Thanks. Take care, everyone.